Africa, say it louder. Say it shouter. Salam alaikum. Assalam alaikum. Salam alaikum. Assalam alaikum. Salam alaikum. Assalam alaikum. Salam alaikum. Assalam alaikum.
United we stand, divided we fall. All we need is freedom. All we need is love. Free Africans free. Free Africans free.
Be free, be free, free from slavery. Free, be free, be free, free from slavery. Free, free yourself from mental slavery. Free, free yourself from mental slavery. Free, free yourself from mental slavery. Free, be free, be free, free from slavery. Be free, be free, free from slavery. Yeah.
We're here to speak the word. We're here to stop the war. We're here to speak the word. We're here to stop the war. We're here to speak the word. We're here to stop the war.
Salam alaikum. Assalam alaikum. Salam alaikum. Assalam alaikum. Salam alaikum. Assalam alaikum. Salam alaikum. Assalam alaikum. Assalamu alaikum, African one. If you wanna be free, the most simplest one in the world. Get yourself the better with the reggae music coming straight to you from the one of the most peaceful man. So many lying down on the streets, whatever them with their guns in the hands. Get yourself the most free time. I preach about freedom. Preach about freedom.
We're here to speak the word. We're here to stop the war. We're here to speak the word. We're here to stop the war. We're here to speak the word. We're here to stop the war.
Better look on the street as a lesson, youth. Stop violence as a lesson. You have to listen and be a man. The music we are doing is not a music for fun. We are preaching, hear it loud and clear. Ain't night and day, no sleeping it out. Better preach, let the people hear. Better preach, let the blind feel. The sound of freedom and love. The sound of freedom and love. The sound of freedom and love. The sound. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you tune in. This is Concerned Citizen of South Sudan. It's live. It is January 22nd, 2024. I welcome all of you all around the world to our weekly program. I apologize though, because we have been conducting the live broadcast for several weeks back right now, just for some technicalities that we had. But now we are resuming and we are continuing. Today, as you can see below the screen, our topic today, I want you to join me to discuss South Sudan election and economic meltdown as well with our colleagues, Deng Mayik, Deng Atem, Al-Maruf, Deng Columbus, the co-founder of the court, and also the author of Jumping Over the Ram and publisher of the Ramciel magazine. I welcome all of you, wherever you tune in today, to share, and like our live broadcast. So those who are not aware that we are live today, they will be able, to watch our live broadcast. This is the first time ever for us, Deng Columbus, Deng Atem, to join us here on Studio Concerned Citizen of South Sudan. Ustaz Deng Atem, welcome to Concerned Citizen of South Sudan. We are really happy to have you today to have a fruitful discussion on this very, very important topic, talking about the Sham election and also the economic meltdown in the country and the way that the country is heading now. Things are not going very well in our beloved country, the Republic of South Sudan. But before we start our discussion, I want you to greet our audience and introduce yourself to them, and we move on from here with this very, very important discussion today. So, Deng Atem, microphone is yours.
Thank you, John Kur. I'm really delighted to be here. I'm glad I'm a fan of your show. I'd like to say hello to all your audience who are watching and who will be watching later on. This is a wonderful platform that you created so that people can be able to talk. But I'm looking forward to discuss this election that is now being planned and perpetuated by our rulers in the country, and we'll see how far this will go and what is the next step and what they want to do. So I'm glad to be here. Thank you very much.
Deng Atem, thank you. We are so happy, as a colleague, as a co-founder of our court, to be discussing these very important issues. I know, I always remember the quote from the former president, of the United States, JFK, who have said, "My fellow American, do not ask what your country can do for you, but do ask what you can do for your country." We have been doing this, persisting and insisting with civic education for a very long time. I know many people, it seems to them it's nothing, it's not making any impact, but it does. We are making a huge, huge impact in our population because not everybody, is aware of their own right. People of South Sudan, they have been in confinement for hundreds and hundreds of years. They don't even know that the government is theirs. The vast majority of them, they don't even know that actually government can provide the services to them. And that's why you see them most of the time, they are just quiet and silent. But it is the role and civic duty of a citizen, of concerned citizen, to enlighten and to educate those who are not aware of their right. And that's why we are here for a very long time. We have to fight for them so they can know their right. So, Ustaz Deng, um, let's start this. What does they mean by this election right now? Because I do not see any a minimum standard for an election to be conducted. What the government is doing, are they still doing their own political sketch, like what they have done with national dialogue in 2016 and Arusha, and also political deception that actually President Kiir has been engaging for a very long time, just to numb the people of South Sudan? Or what is it? What is it? I want you to help our people understand exactly what the government is doing at this stage, while they have been giving more mandate, more time and time and time, extension after extension after extension, and now it seems like they are running, out of all the extension. What do they mean by this election? And we don't see any minimum standard for the election to be conducted in the country.
Well, what the government?
By the way, you can mix it with Tongmonjang because we don't have any problem. You can speak Dinka, you can speak.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Well, I think what these rulers of South Sudan, what they mean by the election, or even thinking or talking about this election, is just to legitimize themselves for the next 5 years. That's what the whole thing is about. But the most important thing about the election is this: if South Sudanese are in denial or they have no clue about the election. First of all, let's say this, Jonko. South Sudan is not a democratic country.
Correct.
South Sudan never been a democratic country. This is the fact. Since 2011, South Sudan never have an election. So the goal here is for us to establish a political phenomenon, a new
Mhm.
political culture, a new political system, a system of governance that will base on a democratic governance. If it happens. Now, talking about healing an election in which you don't have electoral database, you don't have electoral infrastructure.
Mm.
South Sudan is not Kenya. And South Sudan, by the way, is not Tanzania. These are the only two democratic countries in the region.
Mm.
If you talk about the East Africa community, in which we are the chair of the East Africa community now, or
Mm.
Djibouti,
Mm.
Djibouti, you talk about Burundi, DRC, Kenya, Somalia, South Sudan, Rwanda, Tanzania, and
Mm.
Uganda. The only two democratic country in out of this country is only Kenya and Tanzania.
Yep.
If you talk about the if you talk about the IGAD, Intergovernmental and Authority on Development and Drug, the IGAD itself,
Yes.
those Djibouti, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Kenya, Somalia, South Sudan, Sudan, and Uganda, the only democratic country is only Kenya. So South Sudan is not compared to all these two countries in the region right now. So it's not easy for us to just talk about having an election, like, just dream, woke up overnight and say, what, we have to do an election. Having an election in a country like South Sudan, it will be an introduction to the people of South Sudan, introducing a new political culture.
Mm.
If you have a democratic, which is what everyone aspire for, and that's what South Sudanese want, and this is
Mm.
the reason we want to war, then we have to do this election right the first time. They said do it right the first time. Now, after these leaders of South Sudan have ruled the country for so long to this extent, the best thing we would ask them to do for us, the next generation, is to create a political system that will allow our people to have to embrace and respect each other. Right now, if they write this election
Mm.
and then we have it become a recipe of the conflict. If there is another war, what will happen? If we have to fight over this, what will happen? It will be a disaster.
Mhm.
I'll take an example here, John Code. South Sudan is number 4 in the world of the country that produce refugees. Number 4
Wow.
in the world. The number 1 being Syria with 6.5 million refugees.
Mm.
And number 2, Ukraine with 5.4 million. And number 3, Afghanistan with 4.5 million. South Sudan is 2.3 million refugees, of whom most of them, 1.4 million are in Uganda right now. And then you
Mm.
have Kenya, Ethiopia, Sudan, DRC. This is 23% of the population.
Correct.
And we have 2.4 million displaced persons. Now, when you are a displaced person, you don't exist. Now, not only that, we have two types of displaced persons. We have the people who are voluntarily left their state and they went to another state, like
Mm.
those in Northern Barkazal, in Warab, in Unity State, in
Ju-
Jonglei, in
Mm.
Malakat, and all of this. And we have other groups that are now in the POC, Protection of Civilians.
Mhm.
These POC now are those in Juba, they are in Botown, they are in Malakan, they are in Unity State in Bentiu, in Wow, in Awil. These are the people who ran away because the government of South Sudan is after them. These are the people who are afraid of their own government.
Mm.
And how long they've been there? They've been there since 2013. So that's over 10 years. These citizens are there in the camp. Now take 2.4 and plus 2.3. That is 4%. That is 4.7 million South Sudanese who are not in their home.
40%.
Yeah. Now take that 4.7% divided by 11 million population of South Sudan.
Or
You
12.
get 42 to 43%. So nearly half of the population of South Sudan is not in their place.
Mm.
Matter of fact, they are constantly worried every day what to eat and their safety and the safety for their children, for their countrymen. Now you're talking about these leaders, they want to do the election so that the 58% that left now, if they do this sham election, what will be the result of this election? Election in which people are not prepared to go for the election. I'm not saying don't do the election. The most important thing for us as a country like South Sudan is we need an election. And we not just need election, we need election that is credible, fair, and free, organized and observed by the international organization or international NGOs, such as the United Nations, African Union, European, the IGAD, the Carter Center, and the East African Community. That will be an introduction of South Sudan to the world of democracy. Now, what are the benefits of democracy? Do South Sudanese know exactly what that means? If you are in a democratic country, there are values that come with democracy.
Correct.
There are pillars of democracy. There are rule of law. There are checks and balance between the legislature and judiciary and executive. There will be no degree that has been made in television every day. But there will be no way a general can fill up a truck full of soldiers to go and arrest his ex-wife or go arrest your ex-husband because you have a means to do so, because you are able to do that. In a democratic society, it cannot happen. You would be able to have the journalists talk how they want, freedom of speech.
Investigation journalists.
All of it, there will be the accountability and transparency. So if you have an accountability in the country and transparency, you'll be able to lock up these corrupted officials in the government. Since 2005, we never arrested any politician or anybody who have exercised or practiced corruption in the country. So how will you attract international investors to come to the country when you don't have accountability?
And there is no security.
No security in the country. There are possibilities that they will shoot out in jail another time or later on. You never know. Because can you imagine that? The fighting that took place? Who will really put their asset in a country that is danger is imminent everywhere? You can see that. So these are important. Now, so let's talk about this 42% of the South Sudanese people who are not in the country, or they are in the country but not in their home.
Yes.
And you're talking about hailing an election. This 42% is the product of bad leadership in the government of South Sudan. It's a failed system of South Sudan government. Produce this number of citizens that are not in their place. Now you're talking about these politicians, they want to hold an election so that they can squeeze themselves in, legitimize themselves for the next 5 years. If you ask them a question, I know people are not trained in South Sudan to ask questions. I am in Columbus. I have a right to ask the damn question. There's nothing wrong with that. If you ask them a question and say, you know what have you not done in the last 19 years you've been in power? Something that you really want to go and do if you are given another 5 years. What are you going to do? Are you better off than yesterday? Are you better off 5 years ago? Is South Sudanese better off 5 years ago? Is they better off 10 years ago? Even 20 years ago?
19 years ago.
19 years ago. If you ask President Kiir today, you face the reality, then ask him and say, Mr. President, what have you not done? Something that
or what are you going to do different than the 19 years that has gone by?
What do you wish to go and do again? These people, John Core, to be honest with you, they should have not even dreamed of running again or even participating in any upcoming election. They should not even dream, let alone think. They should not even be dreaming. They should pack their luggage and go to their home and enjoy their retirement. That's what they should be doing. How would you allow these people again to go for the next 5 years? What is this? Are you kidding me? This is absurd. The best thing our leaders could do for us is to organize for fair, a credible election. something that our generation, our people in the next 5, 10, 20 years will refer back to and say, you know what? The first election that was conducted in South Sudan was fair and free and credible. That's the most important thing. You know, they said the most difficult math is not arithmetic, it's not geometry, it's not even calculus. It is how you calculate the future consequences at the present moment.
Yep.
Had our leaders calculate the consequences of now in 2005, we will not be in problem now. Had they thought and say, let's establish a government that bring all the South Sudanese together, a government that South Sudanese will respect, a government that will celebrate all our tribe, our culture, our values, we won't be having any problem today. But when our leaders decided that they just walked into the town and found bank full of billions of dollars from the oil money, they start to neglect everything. And they start to fight on creating classes, filling up their bank account, and establish new culture, totally different. And that has been the problem. Now,
Ustaz Dengi Atem, you point out something very important. I want to, pick up from there. You talk about a new political phenomenon. When you said that this is going to be the first election to be conducted, because South Sudan, as you said, it never been democratic, and this is the beginning. And always the beginning, you have to start with the right foot. And if you started wrong, and then everything coming is going to be wrong. And we have seen that since the government of the SPLM has been established since 2005 up to 2014 and 24 now, everything has been going wrong. Whatever they introduced to the people of South Sudan, it's not justice, liberty, and prosperity. It's corruption, mismanagement, lack of services, lack of political will. Now, as you make a very valid point here, this is a phenomenon. In order to have this election as the first election, we need to establish a data, because South Sudan does not have a data. These countries like United States, like Kenya, like Ghana, Tanzania, when people go for an election, they can call election for maybe 6 months, and they are still going to do it because they have already a data. People have been registered, okay, along the party line or along whatever independent, people have been registered in the country. All the counties are in the system. Election workers have been trained. Financial aspect have been also taken care of. So now, when we talk about the election as a good beginning, so we don't have to have problem now, because since signing CPA, everybody come in and then everybody start eating with their 2 hands, and now this is what we get. So it seemed like this government, they want to do it wrong again, because they want to
absolutely
keep the bad reputation continue, with the nation, which is where we have rejected. So the point that I wanted to make was the peace agreement in 2018, December 12, 2018, is supposed to be the end with an election. Why all these years are wasted without implementing peace? Because we know that the end of the peace agreement, the election is supposed to be conducted. They're supposed to write a constitution, permanent constitution, okay? Census is supposed to take place. Even people who were affected with the war, they're supposed to be compensated. All this thing has not happened. And now we want to conduct election. So I want you to weigh in on that, to connect the dots, with the people.
Absolutely, I will be delighted to do that. You know, what happened is this: when you create a new political system, which is what we are talking about now, creating infrastructure to do that. Number one thing, census has not been done. You cannot do any election in any country without census. Census gives you the demographics, the population. And not only the population, the eligible age that will vote. Like recently there was a statement that in Warab State, there is if somebody came up and said, there are 2 million people in Warab State. Yes, Warab State is the polygamy state. Some people have 10, 20 wives with the children of below the age of 17 who cannot vote could be more. So out of 2 million citizens in Warab State, what number will vote? Probably 400 to 500,000. It's not 2 million because there are children. These are part of the demographic. But if I ask you a demographic question right now, that you may not get it right. And most of the Genovese will not get it right. How many tribes are there in South Sudan?
Well, obviously, what they say now is 64, but it could be more. That's the question.
That's right. You are right. Now you got it right. Okay, take the 64 tribe and put it here. How many ethnicity in the country, in South Sudan, are the country now? The group of people in the country. Let's start me and you. We are Black African in South Sudan. There is Arab in South Sudan, and there are white in South Sudan. Now there is a man called Amina Kacha, the owner of the New Sudan Palace, right? Uncle Amina Kacha is an Arab from the tribe in the north. But he's been in South Sudan, been living in Juba since 1950 or before 1956. So he's a citizen of South Sudan, and that's why he had to vote in the referendum that time. With his children and his family are South Sudanese. So now, if you take him, he's what? 65 tribe now. You have 64 tribes. Now there is another gentleman also, a successful businessman in Juba. It's called George Gensh. George is the owner of the restaurant called Nitro, Notos. There are two of them in Juba, I believe there are two. One on Chara Wazara. And George is a South Sudanese white Greeks. Born in South Sudan, live in South Sudan, he has family there, he's a businessman. He's a South Sudanese who could run for the president of South Sudan. He could be a governor of Central Equatoria, and he could even be a mayor of Juba if he want to. And he's white. So it's a tribe. He has his own tribe. So the smallest tribe in the country it's a white it's a white tribe of the European, but George himself is a South Sudanese citizen. So that is a demographic question, and that's how the importance of demographic. So that when you do the demographic, you'll be able to know exactly what are group of people who will vote. You talk about ethnicity, you talk about the population, you talk about the people, the female, male, age, and all of these, and you put it together. That thing is not being put into place. So this is important. That's why it is important for us to do this election, do it right the first time. When you do it right the first time, you will leave, there will be no room of somebody trying to create a problem. There will be a system that has been put in place so each and everybody will follow it. Anytime you introduce a new political culture, people tend to use that. If it's a good one, then people follow it. If it's the bad one, they take advantage of using it as a way of getting to power.
Correct.
But right now, if these leaders who've been in power for 19 years are the one going to conduct this sham election in order for them to legitimize themselves for the next 5 more years, because there is notion that we have 650 members of parliament, to whom most of them were elected in 2010, and some of them were added to the parliament because of the accommodation through this peace that has been signed. And now the only way to reduce this number is to send them back home during the election. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But do it right. The 5 vice presidents now that are there, the 5 vice presidents, yes, it was part of an agreement that was signed so that we can have a peace in the country. Also, if you want to eliminate this position of 4 by president and have 1 by president, that's fine. But also it has to be done accordingly so that we don't have to get into another problem. Am I interested in extension? No, I'm not. I'm not interested in extension.
Neither people of South Sudan are interested on extension.
South Sudanese don't have choice. Majority of South Sudanese, almost all South Sudanese don't have a choice. Maybe someone like you and I have a choice to say something.
Yes.
But the people in the South Sudan, people in the country don't have a choice to say anything. They have no reason or they are not able to question the validity of how this government is operating because they don't have that opportunity. They have been constitutionalized, they have been demoralized, they are frightened, so there is no way they can talk. South Sudan is a police state. South Sudan is authoritarian state. How such a state will conduct an election in a short time, like they are talking about? What that is a recipe of a disaster, a problem waiting to happen. But how you avoid that is to engage this leader by, telling them that, the election is not formidable. The environment, it's not conducive to do an election in such a timely manner like the way it is now.
And also, something, Atem, thank you, for, shedding a light on this. Another question that we can ask also, are they really sincere that they are going to conduct this sham election? Because even though we did more analysis, and this is practical, that actually you cannot conduct an election with no minimum standard, no registration, and no criminal constitution.
They are gamblers. Gambling is speculation.
Yes.
The gamblers, what they does, they will talk about it.
Yeah, they will talk about something.
And if it comes to the last minute later on, they will be like, you know what? You have seen it now. There is no chance for us to hold an election. So let's put it off. Let's look for the other alternative. As long they will stay in power, that's what is going on. And we understand that. Now, the commission of the election was asking for 250 billion pound translated to So now will he get those resources?
No.
That's the question. Will the United Nations, will the other NGOs or intergovernmental authority will bring in the resources for the election? I don't know. If it does that is okay. But at the same time, you have to create a civic education for these people. South Sudan is not a country that have a viable economy that will allow citizens to think properly, to know what they do. There is an ideology for all these political leaders. Here in the United States, for example, you have conservative and liberal. Each politician have what they stand for. Do you stand for the big government or do you stand for less government? Do you stand for immigration or do you stand for abortion? Do you stand for what it is, the tax cut, the high tax, and all of this thing that benefits society? But South Sudan doesn't have that. South Sudan doesn't have a principle for solidarity, whereby they take care of their disabled person, they take care of the wounded, veterans, and all of this. This is the situation. Thing like that could be done when there is a credible government, a system of democratic that have accountability and transparency, which doesn't exist in the country, which actually we want to have in the country. But how to have it, you cannot push it as a people's throat and say, let's do election like now. Like some of the politicians are threatening. They are saying, you know what, whether you want it or not, this election will be conducted. They are talking about some people are afraid if the election is conducted now, they will not come back. That is the pretext of creating this or promoting this sham election. But that's not true. The reality is, I believe every South Sudanese want peaceful country, want a peaceful South Sudan. We want to do it in a way that so each and every one of us will be able to live in peace and live together. But anything that would perpetuate violence and more problem in the country, nobody wants that.
Exactly.
Now you have 42% of the population that are not in the country, and you still won an election that may even result in more chaos. What do you try to do to this country? Eh? And this is the problem. This is the question that people should ask themselves. Uh,
So Deng Atem, is your network is okay?
yes.
Okay, you are back. So now we can understand that that's Deng Atem, Deng Columbus, that actually the government, I call it the Authoritarian, regime, actually they continue to use political deception that they have been engaged for a very long time. This is another political deception because you remember national dialogue, there was a peace agreement already existed, supposed to be implemented, okay? But the government chose not to because they want to find other way around it. And they come up with national dialogue. And on December 14, 2016, President Kiir stood before the National Legislative Assembly and said, national dialogue will be the way forward. Finally, when the result of the national dialogue came out, asking Mr. President and his deputy to step aside in order for South Sudan to move forward, he took all these results and he put them on drawer. So now, can people of South Sudan understand that these are all political sketch? These are all political deception that this government they have been doing for a very long time. Started with Arusha, started with the Addis Ababa Agreement, started with the National Dialogue and Khartoum Peace Agreement 2018, and also another extension for 24 months, and then another extension for 12 months, and now they are talking about election. But sooner or later, 6 months or 4 months, they will come and say, oh, well, we don't have budget for it, or we cannot afford to conduct election at this moment, or the other oppositions are objecting, or even find a way to sign another deal, whether with the Soma or with Paul Malone. And you know what? And said, you know what? Since we signed a deal now with General Paul Malone, there is no way we can conduct election. Who are the victim? Are the people of South Sudan, because they have been deceived for quite a long time. But interestingly, this is where I can, say the story of the monkey, the monkey, the story of the monkey that actually went to eat a fruit from the tree that by the river, and that tree in Dinka actually chum, and this story actually what it present is a betrayal. This is a story talking about betrayal, that actually this government has been betraying people of South Sudan. It has been betraying the oppositions. Some individual within the government, they will call the opposition and they will try to sign a deal with them, and then soon they reach that destination, nothing is going to be implemented, like what happened with Dr. Yak Mashar and the group of Soma. Peace agreement has not been implemented. So the story of the monkey when I think I should say it in Dinka would be really beautiful when you say it in Dinka. So this kadang kang agok jal bi chum chi no malwaj wira cham chum tawan most of people know chum, and every day agog will go to that chum, and that chum actually is at wario ujala tum chum achi no malwaj wir. So reja ben bi agog bi kalim chum agog actually unfortunately a jai a take a chiben kulim agog mojan chum go go jai go akum to the right the jolakum go ben kulim agog mojan chum go jai. Finally go right in the jol karkang len go ben kulim agog la mojan chum go mo, right? And from that day they established a friendship, akum kujala kadang len kujala agog. And then ejal ben every day one thing in a go ka jelo chum num bi chum ka bi kulim kumoy. Now one day kayen ban rek ji twany twi yani ne ji twi ji mar dom disease ke chol twi, and then all of a sudden ko ya la tana chor chao apet. Unfortunately, apet akum rejware jiben bil bago ben lim ko ji agong nyong. Golole ya ko kene mbro loy ben jine ci twany ko chan ben bi pir agogen be bay bi ben koch agogo ben dok bi ben bi koch ka ben u pir wo re jall le ken bro jallo ko na yin ngadi be jall bago jall bay pandan wir wala no mal la nyato lañ gëna mat ge yen ko loyo kuma loyo ngi ra nga ñong ci mba you know wala yi lañ ken mission du la bi lo bi na goga ciol chan bi agog bi ben loy gëna bi ben koch jolle lañ as usual bela lim cum go mo cum wala gën ya yi na go madya en yu bula pandan wir en chini nyan kai tiak yi bi na tagwen go le ya wala kala den wala yalla go dol ben pan wir lo lañ piwi la kala ben yu ko to meeting ko ala ngamba jël wala go honestly yin ken bi inten a che wat chi nyan kan lañ chi etia a chin wong teng yi a chor gin chao o chor jolo kuma e le bañ da kini ci twan ci mun ci ni watin gel toy ya serino ke yen aci apet aci lwe la chor kum aci lwe na bi ben nok ka bañ au pir e bi bañ men ko wala ci yak ya gola yen dun lakini ngo kan luy kar kangen mu loy la ñen rega ba tiem de bañang we o wata na la ran ken karan ñanga tiem de tim kini bro loy we ga ba duk ba ngwang nel jak ngwang ka nel ngwan ku jël ke ben nok ka bañ au pir en ta banari kwen ge yuk tan ko kwan e jubatan mom den da ci no ma ci tak ko den ci baay ci la pin you know always dan they don't think right gole khala yi ni bu ya da jël ngwang dal to ngwang dal do ngwang ko timin gobe gole na go ma je bañ duñ ci toy jal ga re toy ge ngi jaman ci mo ne ju waran to no gel kam bang na ko re ci lan yal so kene lui mean in this ke ga very short term you know akumada they are always very short term yani ki ka tak bas kan ya ko lu ko bi cham yani they don't think for long term ko ko chalwelun yani you brought a very good point zaman welen yaki the government must be set political phenomenon you know but if you don't have that political phenomenon then everything will be always failing yani ko lorot pandan chol South Sudan a betrayal kimun ci agog he mad his own friend kina lu betray la balo pandar wi la in la tech in la tag work wachi wengele te ga dan wi bi nyaay te din kare entin bi jal ben bol pin kaytin fayin we need to work hard yani masalan hukuma kan has been using political deception for very long time ko mat chabe mat kana madaliu en gan gon jelo ni chine lele akhi there is no even retirement for soldiers for generals ko en ke lu stick to the government en ki nguyin ko jika tuutirana ci job qur'an wala lu because akuma kan mu'tamada ala deception they deceiving people so they can remain in power so kan embroloy this is what I see from the experience in the future they will just 6 months or 4 months kazaman kiban kula yako wachin imkaniyat and they will do an election and then they will go ahead and bribe the member of National Legislative Assembly and then they will do another extension. That's what I can see, Ustaz Deng did, Ustaz Deng Atem. So this is really very further. Go ahead.
You are right, because this is what they've been doing. And if that's what they've been doing, they will continue to do it because this is one of the things. When you talk about, you mentioned the national dialects. The national dialect that was initiated actually by the President Kiir, was a good thing that was close to democratic system because it brought in all the citizens from the grassroots, representatives from all part of South Sudan. They came in. It took 4 years, I believe. And it was led by Uncle Abel Alier, Angel Beda, Dr. Francis, Uncle Bona, Uncle Ajondi, and many other prominent South Sudanese politicians. People who care more about South Sudan. People who really want to see South Sudan do better. You can claim to know more than these people, to be honest with you. And these are the people who came up with the Nine dialect. They came up and they proposed a resolution. They thought that would be the best for the people of South Sudan.
Mm.
And to do that was the proposal that the president and vice president, Dr. Riak, will not stand an election again in South Sudan. That one, the president didn't like it. The vice president didn't like that. These are the two of them. But you have to give Dr. Riak at least
The credit.
a credit or here or kind of give him a leeway because he never been a president. He been a vice president. It's like being in the passenger seat in the car and the other guy is driving. So the person here who's supposed to not contest again if there is any election is President Kiir. President Kiir is supposed to be the one to say, you know what? If this is good for the people of South Sudan, then let it be. But Salva Kiir was the one who said the revitalized agreement on the resolution of the conflict in South Sudan is actually the law of the land at this moment because that is an agreement that brought the peace. So that was his excuses. That was the president's excuses. The president said he wanted to make sure to execute this peace process to the end of the day. And that has been one of the reasons that it was the Nine dialect has been there. It recommended all the recommendation of the Nine dialect are still there. But that is the issue. Now, one of the problem is this. South Sudan, when the peace was signed in 2005, the comprehensive peace agreement between the SPLM and the National Congress Party in 2005 in Kenya. Now, Kenya had been one of the most important countries in the region, the country that supports South Sudan. And the only democratic country in the region, to be honest with you. South Sudan failed to even model after Kenya. It failed to imitate or emulate the Kenyan system. They only pick up the corruption out of it, and
correct. That's what I was going to say something because they pick up corruption part of it of Kenya.
That's what they're doing it worse because Kenya now they digitalize their money, their currency. You use M-Pesa. You go to the restaurant and use it. So now the corruption in Kenya has been minimized.
Minimized, yeah.
It's not been eradicated, but it's been minimized. But South Sudan becomes different. So now you're talking about somebody who is not willing to learn. South Sudan are the youngest country. You know, when you keep making excuses that we have the youngest country, what the young person do? The young person learn from the old people, right?
Yes.
But if the old people are messed up, like they are now in South Sudan, what are you going to actually? Who are you going to model after?
They're going to learn corruption.
Yeah.
And that's why people in our younger generation now, I'm sorry to cut you off, people, our younger generation right now, the good boys, there is the good boys now of J1, they actually want us to keep us away, because we speak the truth. And sometimes they tend to say, these guys, they are wasting their time. They are making noise. And actually, we are not. We are doing civic education. That's one thing that they don't understand.
You know what? Let me tell you one thing. They have no clue. They have no clue. If you ask them now what will be the end game, they will not tell you. Because right now, Kiir regime, to be honest with you, Kiir will be there. I have a study in my political science. I studied the breakup of Yugoslavia during Tito. All this country break apart. Albania, Bosnia, Kosovo, and all of this stuff. It's because Tito was the one holding the chip, holding the whole country together. The same thing what happened in Soviet Union during the 90s when one country came out, Georgia came out, all these countries, they break apart. Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, all of these. Georgia, Ukraine, they break apart. The 15 republics, they break apart. Same thing, I studied the Middle East. the 50-year war between Arab and the Israelis. So all of this, you understand, when the Palestinian, when Abbas, when Yasser Arafat,
That's Arafat.
and then Mahmoud Abbas was elected, guess what is happening right now in Gaza?
More mess.
The Fatah are in West Bank, and then also the Hamas are in the one controlling the Gaza with 2.4 million people. So that's the situation right there. So Salva Kiir is there, but if Salva Kiir is gone today, these people around Salva Kiir, they don't have the ability to put the country together. No, they don't, because they've been feeding themselves based on betrayal, like you said. Everybody is saying different things.
But this is also Deng Atem, this is what President Kiir wants actually, because President Kiir has been criticized for failing the country, and he wants to make sure this country is failed. When he's gone, those psychopaths around him, they will do exactly that. They will scatter the country so people can say, oh, well, Kiir was better. This is a scenario.
Salva Kiir, let me tell you one thing. You know Louis the 14th of France?
Yes.
Louis the 14th.
Louis the Rabbi Asher.
Yeah, Louis the 14th once said, they asked him, that, a journalist came and asked him, said, the king, how come you initiated all this war? How the history will remember you later on when you die? And his answer was, I don't give a damn. I'm not going to be here anyway.
Yep.
So if that is what Kiir Mayar is saying, okay, that's fine. But the reality is, there is a language here, a language people keep saying.
Mm.
Problem.
That's not true.
Ridiculous and dangerous statement. They keep saying this. So tomorrow it will bring this corrupted person again, and then and then tomorrow bring somebody else. Now, where will they go to Lebanja?
Yeah, that's a good question.
The people of South Sudan will go to them. Nobody will tolerate this nonsense and say, you know what? Yeah, they were all no. Do you think that the population in South Sudan will be quiet? No, that's not. Salva Kiir is buying into this. It's just listening to these people who are telling him here, left and right, and these people, he should ask themselves, say, you know what, why I keep appointing these people and nothing changed? What? There's nothing changed completely.
Well, because he's the one that engaged on this. What do you expect if the boss himself, if he's engaged in corruption, you think he's going to bring clean people? He's going to bring the corruptees. But then remind me, three young men, they were going to a date. You know the Dinka dates, when you go and visit a village and go there, and sometimes water become dark. And then when water become dark, sometimes they have to tell you that you have to sleep. You cannot go in the middle of night. And then one day, those guys, they went there, but there was a one. They were a group of one of them, and I one actually he really wanted to go to the bathroom so bad in the middle of night, and there were three sleeping, and then all of a sudden, I one he can't take it anymore. He said, "I want to go to the bathroom," and his friend said, "Please don't do this. We are coming for a date, and you just want to bring shame and make people bad. Don't act like that." And I want to say, "Man, guys, I cannot do that." And then one guy, there is one old man was sleeping with them actually in the same room. So three young men and then one old man. And then one guy said, let him go to the bathroom here because we cannot go out. And then tomorrow, just take his underwear and let this old man wear it. And then we can just say that the old man is the one that went to the bathroom at the middle of the night. And then that old man said, "Wow, he was awake." He was awake. He said, if that is the case, I will go out even though it's the middle of night and you guys have to deal with your own problem. I cannot sleep there. So this is what's happening. So this guy can keep making problem and he will say, "Oh, no, the people that work with him." He will make issues. Corruption, mismanagement, and insecurity. And we said, "Oh, people who are working with the Benya are the one." So people are working on Benya are the one that make problem. But in the state, owning that problem and acknowledging he make problem, and if I make a problem, I must find the way to get out of this mess. He did not. So that's what happened, my brother. Continue.
People working with Bang for, like you say. You know, I listened to this YouTube channel one time from Luis Farrakhan. Luis Farrakhan is a Muslim leader here in the United States, the Nation of Islam. And one time he told his wife, Khadija, Sister Khadija, to get up. He introduced her to the public. And he said, Sister Khadija, get up. Sister Khadija got up. And he said, this is my wife. I have 9 kids with her. He said, when I married my wife, the leader of the Nation of Islam, Elijah Muhammad, advised his wife. Elijah said, Sister Khadija, here is your husband. I want you to go outside there and make friends for him. Lee said, from that day till now, 57 years, my wife go outside there and make friends for me. He said, even on the Christmas time, in their neighbors, he buy all the Christmas gifts to all the neighbors. And the neighbors are saying, hey, Farrakhan, the Muslim, is the one buying us Christmas gift. He said that my wife would have that. What I'm saying is this: Salva Kiir doesn't have friend who make friend for him, who go outside it. All the advisors that he has, they give him a device that really benefit them immediately, but they not benefit the president. Because from those who are running foreign affairs, people who are running military, people who are running security, people who are running anything, there is nothing positive that come out of Juba in the regime of Salva Kiir, something people of South Sudan would be very proud of. You have the chaos everywhere in the country. All this communal violence everywhere. I'm from Tweed. My community was burned down a couple of days ago. My uncle was killed a couple of days ago. In this conflict between Tweed and Ngok. The same people, relative. There's nobody related to us, we Tweed people, than Ngok. But the problem is going on. The president doesn't have any statement he made. He keep making degree after degree. This degree, they are not working. You don't make peace. You don't make peace as a degree.
Out of degree, yes. You don't make peace out of degree.
You bring people together and negotiate and iron out their grievances, and they come together. So that's the country that we have. They divided the president and all of this. They are not doing anything.
And most important thing, Deng Atem, you have to tell the truth whether people like it or not. You know, truth must be told. Because when you say that, this is like for instance now, let's give a raw example of Tweed and Ngok. This is a black and white case. This is not there is nothing gray there. You know, there's nothing gray there. The authorities, they can make it clear. You know, this is belong to this is belong to this, and then we are done. And instead of trying to ease and trying to, to be more politically correct, so I can keep the fight going. People can be busy there fighting among themselves, and then I can get away with what I want to do. They have been, mutajara siyasiyan, which is so bad.
It's a war that Salva Kiir could have stopped on the 10th of February when it break out. It probably would have taken just a week for him to stop it. Completely. He would have done that if he want to. And he still have a chance to do that. But Salva Kiir deliberately decided he cannot do it. When I was in Juba, I met one of the politicians from our community, from Warab, an elderly man who have played a role in our political culture for years. And I asked him a question point blank. I said, you know what? What do you think with this situation going on? Why the president don't want to solve the problem? He did not have an answer for me. That's one thing. Then I asked him another question. I say, what do you think the legacy of the president will be later on? Let's say somebody like me here from Warab State, and I ask somebody in Afanal or in Equatoria, and I ask them and say, hey, how come you guys don't build a monument or a school or an institution for the president, for Salva Kiir? Why? And if they respond back by saying, Salva Kiir have done nothing, what will be my answer? Completely, the man still did not answer me. He said,
Mhm.
I'm not in the right place. What? This is fine. Okay. It's just like Salva Kiir decided to do what he wanted to do. But the most important thing is, people of South Sudanese, they should really pressurize this government not to conduct an election that will bring a problem, but bring in all these NGOs and others and all these political parties, civil society come together and let them decide when will be the right time for the election to be conducted. It doesn't have to be December this year. It could be May next year. But while you are building up the preparation for the people, because what have delayed all of this is the security provision that has not been implemented for years now, where the government been saying that an arm embargo should be lifted. Uh, that has been an excuses for the government when they put all these trained soldiers in cantonment areas, training them, and these soldiers supposed to be sent all deployed all over the country, but they say they don't have weapons when they have a lot of weapons. There's no country in the continent that have more weapons than South Sudan today. Those weapons are the ones being used by the civilian right now. They are killing themselves with those weapons. Uh, and then you're talking about getting more weapons and pressuring the UN to lift the arm embargo. So these are the concerns that we have, and each and every one of us citizens, people who are able to talk, to be able to continue to talk and pressurize the government to come up with better decision as we go toward this election. I believe it will not take place. Uh, because right now there is no political space. We're still waiting to see them AQ and embassy for all these political leaders in the exile to go back to participate so they can prepare.
But you
But
know
now
what?
it's not been done.
Yeah, you know what Ustaz Deng did?
Hmm?
As I said, is a political sketch. There will be no election whatsoever. You said it from the beginning. This is supposed to be a political phenomenon to start. And I said, when you start with the wrong foot, everything will go wrong. So that's what happened since 2005 up to now. And now he wanted to continue with the same wrong foot. But now, even with their own sham election that they have proposed, they know that they don't have money to conduct it. They will come to their senses later and say, you know what, we don't have money, and we do an extension. This is what they will do. They will bribe, president will bribe the National Legislative Assembly, and then they will make an extension. That's what I know. You know, we started this government, from the toe to the head. Okay. So people of South Sudan, I know their arm is twisted. There is no conducive environment. There is no freedom of expression. You cannot assemble. We have seen even the little young woman 3 days ago when she was just talking, making a comedy about the situation that Achaiwir is creating within the country. Those hawkers, creating more problems. And when she made like a sketch, she got arrested. She got arrested, and she has to come out later and apologize for not doing anything wrong. She did not do anything wrong, but she's threatened. So what I wanted to say here, my brother,
That is the political state.
yes, even with on the SPLM party members are banned not to declare their candidacy, and you said things should not be done with the political decree, and President Kiir has done it. He banned all the members of the SPLM party not to declare their candidacy, whether you wanted to run for the gubernatorial or you want to be a member of the National Legislative Assembly or a commissioner, whatever. He banned them. And even the rival opposition within Juba, Young Mashar, Lamakol, and those, they are not allowed to go and campaign. So what is it, Yani? No constitution, okay? No registration, no constituency are not surveyed, you know. And how are you going to conduct election? How are you going to conduct election? They know it. It was just, time buying, time consumption. And then when they come to that 6-month window or 4-month window, they will go ahead and do an extension. And that's why we need to talk to our people of South Sudan, to understand that there is no future with this government. There is no future with these people. Because these people, they care about their own interests. That's what it is. They are there to stay. They care more about their bellies. They care more about their families. They care more about stealing. And that's why we should not be satisfied. Nothing here can satisfy us. If the children of martyrs are begging, they don't have school, the widow are begging, and there is nothing. Nothing here can satisfy us. Because we, the people of South Sudan, we were fighting, for justice, liberty, and prosperity. And then with that, people should not come here and say, oh, you guys are wasting your time. You guys are just shouting. You guys are making noise. We are not. And actually, with that, we want to send a message to people of South Sudan that actually the alliances that we have created needed their support. It is unique and different than any other political alliance that has been created. But the government always, because when they see something unique, they will jump to the conclusion and they will try to crack the wall. And that's something that we should not allow, to discourage people actually from being together, and working for this country that actually is bleeding for a very long time. So I want you to send a message, because we spent good amount of time to the people of South Sudan about this court that we have created it.
Thank you, Jokur. The purpose and the goal and the reason that we put together the coalition for restoration of democracy, it was for us to come together and go and participate in the election in South Sudan. When we established this thing in Washington, D.C. last year, but it's still the objective now that the core will continue to play a role, continue to educate the people of South Sudan about the importance of governance, good governance, and also the importance of having leaders who are mindful about what is good for the people of South Sudan. And this is important. So the core will continue to do what they want to do, and will continue to pressurize the government in any way we can to make sure that this nonsense that people try to say, will distort the core. That's not going to happen, because it's the people who are in the core now are the individual who are really, they have the courageous to bring the change about the change in that country, South Sudan. So this is important. You're talking about the citizens of South Sudan that have been frightened and demoralized and institutionalized, where they cannot say anything because it is a political state. And you mentioned something about this young lady, Ahmed Jok, I saw these messages, and she made a fun joke about Malongawan, and then also something about Tonga. I don't think she said anything bad about the governor, even though she apologized to the governor today. It's a joke. It's a comedy. She would say. But yes, in our society, people are very sensitive. People with weakness, they are always sensitive. They don't entertain these kind of comedies.
Mm-hmm.
They feel that because they weaken them. Yeah.
Or because they know that they have been engaging in such a behaving, and that's why they want to shut this thing down.
They want to shut a person down.
Now,
when we talk about, and this is where the role of the core comes from, the role of the core, which was established here in the U.S., and have the numbers of the people in the diaspora. And also we have people back home, and we'll continue to engage by recruiting individuals and organizations to join the core, so that we will move on about bringing the change to the country. And this is important. This is something we're going to do.
But then, Deng Atem, I want you to add the regional politics, because lately the regional politics has been played so bad, to fracture any good thing that actually sons and daughters of the country are trying. And this government actually has been engaging in regional politics for.
When you talk about the regional politics, let's say the IGAD, the regional politics, the IGAD itself, and the East Africa community, or the Nile Valley. And when I say about the Nile Valley, it's South Sudan, Egypt, and Ethiopia. These people concentrate in the Nile here, the role we play. So South Sudan have a two role to play in the region. Should we be a sub-Saharan African tribal country, which has an alliance now with the East African community, which is we are part of it now? That's one thing. Another thing, should we be part of the Nile Valley, in which we align with Sudan, Ethiopia, Egypt? That's another good thing to do. But when you talk about the region we are in right now, the East African community, which we joined recently, and what is the role of South Sudan in this marriage, or whatever you call it, this unity? So how important it is to the people of South Sudan? Will South Sudan be working in the East Africa? Will they be working in Kenya? Will they be working in it? Will they do that? I don't know about that. Okay, they may work, but what kind of qualification will they have?
We are not benefiting from East Africa actually.
That's one of the things. Now, when you're talking about this coalition and this communal thing set together, supposed to benefit people in economically. That was the goal. That was the purpose of the East Africa community, economic and security at one. But South Sudan, the same. South Sudan is not a democratic country, not still a democratic country yet. And South Sudan economy is down. It's gone. Yeah, I was watching in DC that time. I talked to somebody, and you know what? I said it doesn't exist. But he said, no, it exists. It just doesn't, it's not there. It needs to be resuscitated. I believe that Dr. Biaro said that. Yeah, I said it doesn't exist. Dr. Biaro said the economy do exist, but they need to be resuscitated, which is true. To resuscitate it, this economy in South Sudan, this is what should be the focus. And guess what? I saw Dr. Ali, my colleague, and Dr. Biar, Dr. Barnaba Ba, they are together. This young man, bright, smart, working together now. But how could they turn around the economy of South Sudan? And economics doesn't even exist. I have to keep my word. So how will they fix it? You cannot fix an economy where gross domestic product of a country
are not
80%. 80% of the high-earning South Sudanese citizens, their salary are consumed in the neighboring country.
Correct.
So you're talking about anybody who make more money, they send money daily, millions of dollars to the neighboring country, where president to anybody working in the NGO, they have house in Kenya. How do you fix this economy?
Their children in Kenya. Yes.
An economy in which your salary as a citizen, as a Moses Badoli, working there, your salary cannot bounce, cannot be spent within the community. They will be shipped out. Every month when you receive them, they are shipped out for your children's education, for your family, for Medicare, for anything. And you expect this country to have an economy? You know what they said this? They said your wealth determine where you live.
Correct.
And where you live determine where your children go to school. And where your children go to school determine the quality of education your children get. And the quality of education your children get determine what kind of job they will have.
What future they will get.
The future they will get. And the same thing for their kid and their grandkid. So, do you have an area in Juba, a nice affluent area with park, with recreational center and all of this, where a Moses working with the UN, for an example, making $6,000 a month, able to live with their children playing around, get a good school there. Do they have it in Juba? No, they don't.
And
so where they have it, They have it in Karen in Kenya, in Lavington in Kenya. They have it in
Giri.
Gigiri, in Kilmani. This is what they are. So the middle class in our country, the middle class, the people who eat with two hands, they eat with the people on the top and they eat with the people down there because the middle class are the lawyers, they are the doctors, they are the engineers, they are general, they are business people. These people, their family are not in the country. So you're talking about a country where everybody behaving or living like a guest to live. You know when they have the holiday in South Sudan, when they have the 5 days holiday, especially at Ramadan time,
They travel.
they
They
travel.
travel to Kenya and Uganda.
Yeah, because
To buy.
everybody is going now to see their family, to go and enjoy their money. So the country is a part-time job. It's a country that people go to sleep at 6 p.m. to 6 in the morning. Nobody working, no manufacturers, nothing. And then tomorrow people go to work at 9 and they go to lunch at 12 o'clock, 12 p.m. They go to lunch and they stay at lunch place for 2 hours. After you feel you don't feel good, after you eat a lot of food, you go back to sleep. You go home to sleep. Huh?
Ustad Deng Atem, let me say this. I am not economist, but there is a basic example or basic simple that actually the Ministry of Finance with the corporation, with the Ministry of Commerce, Minister of Commerce and Minister of Finance, they can work together if this regime in Juba is give them that opportunity to do what is right to be done for the country. They can pull it off.
No.
First, like you have talked about the growth domestic, product. There is no country in this earth, their own currency, the money, their own currency, the value can go up without producing locally. And I mean, when I'm talking about producing locally, I'm not talking about you can produce JBL or you can produce a medicine or you can. This is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the basic necessity, agriculture. Okay, like eggs. We can have a farm of chickens, and then we can have eggs locally. We can have sorghum. We can grow food. We can have our own food, sorghum, wheat, corns, and all these things. It's not difficult. South Sudan, 80% of land is agriculture, while in Kenya, 8% only are agriculture. And they are using, Kenyans are using that 8% and they're producing more food. So, like I said, Ministry of Agriculture, Minister of Finance, and Minister of Commerce, they can work together if the government allow that, because these generals and the government, they don't want that. They are rewarding Kenya, they are rewarding Ugandan, and that's why they have restricted from, let me finish, from reducing all this locally. So if we produce food locally, our pounds is going to go up. Our pound is going to go up. Now the dollars, $100 is 120,000 South Sudanese. When Dr. Ba came in, he said he's going to work to lower it, but he will not be able to do it unless what I have mentioned has to take place. And third, after all this, if they are able to produce the food locally, we diversify our economy, focus on agriculture, so we can asida de yakulu lazim. Wala jotayara that you can eat asida, because in Ethiopian airline you can eat anjera. You can eat anjera as a passenger. You can, because why I mentioned Minister of Commerce, and Minister of Commerce is the one that responsible for import. Okay, things that are coming from outside the country, food, medicine, it has something to do with Minister of Commerce. And then South Sudan can make a restriction. You cannot bring banana, you cannot bring wheat, you cannot bring all chicken, everything from Kenya, from Uganda. No, we don't need any fruit coming from outside. After 1 year, we put a study and we grow our own thing, and now we have product coming in. We have tomatoes, we have pumpkin and all this thing locally, and then Minister of Commerce will put more restriction. You are bringing something from outside, we're going to tax it 200%. And then people are not going to bring this product from outside. And if they are not bringing samak, because we have fish, and even I hear that meat, they're bringing meat from Uganda. Why? And we have cows. And then now the local farms, they will have that opportunity to gain. And if they are gainer, they have more money. And the money are spent in South Sudan. And now you can build nice apartment and people can rent this apartment and they can spend money there. You can build good schools and you can bring good, brilliant Kenyan that you are obsessed with to come and teach our children in South Sudan. Yo, okay, because we have apartment, good apartment, they can live here. We have clean water, they can live here. And then they can teach our children and they will spend half of their salaries in South Sudan. But now, as you mentioned, my brother, all the salary, if a DG, Director General, is going to spend his money in Kenya, and Minister is going to spend his money in Kenya and in Uganda, well, how the economy is going to be stimulated? It will not be stimulated because all the money are taken outside country. Exactly what Professor Lumumba said. South Sudan is a hunting field. They come and hunt and take and eat outside. Who is to blame? Are you going to tell me that people working with the president? Though these policies will come from the ruling party. The SPLM party has a structure that this is what we wanted to do. This is what we wanted to do for this year, for next year, for 3 years. Do they have? They are incapable. And people with ideas are not accepted, are rejected. And instead, they are buying people. You know, they are buying people and making you sit down and say, waye to Nasib, waye, munu waye. This is what they do. But this country is not going to move forward unless what we have mentioned, it has to be implemented. And then finally, we have a lot of pounds out there. You have to change the currency, like what those NCP did in 1990s. After they came into the power and the Sudanese pound was everywhere and people are afraid to bring their money to the bank. And that's what happened in South Sudan now. There's a lot of people. People have money, but they will not bring it to the bank because the Bank of South Sudan is not trustworthy. You bring your money and you are not going to get your money. But now if they have new measures and they said, okay, now we are going to change the currency. We have a time limit. From this date to this date, if you have the old pound, bring it in. And if you don't bring it in, this money are going to die in your hand. That's the way that you can start, controlling your own pound and controlling the dollars. And also, you have to talk to these foreigners because these foreigners now, they think they own South Sudan. You have the Pyramid, you have Crown Hotel, you have Blue, you have all this stupid hotel in Juba. They are not accepting the local currency. They are not. Deng Atem, they accept dollars. And who encourage them is the government. Is official are the one that encourage them. What in the world? You go to a country, okay, and a country will not accept your own local currency. The business, foreign business will not accept your own currency. How would you feel, Deng Atem? How would you feel in your own country? In your own country, you're going and you want a motel, you want a hotel, and people will say, no, you have to bring dollars. Why do you? Then why are we printing pounds? If Pyramid Hotel or Crown Hotel or Blue, Radisson or all these hotels in Juba are not accepting our currency, what is the meaning? What is the sovereignty here? We are a sovereign. What is the sovereignty here? We're in the dollar. You see, that's why we are saying the boss has dropped the ball long time ago. And whoever come in and has an energy, like Dr. Bach came in with an energy he wanted to fix, now the salaries are behind 5 months. He will not do it unless from the top there, I wanted to do this. Dr. Bach say, I wanted to do this. This is what I wanted to do, Mr. President. Can you support me? But if Dr. Bach say that we want to do this, we wanted to do that, and he's not getting support from J1, would he do it? No, because somebody will come and say, hey, I need this money, and I need to do this, and I need to do this. You cannot restrict it. If you say no, if Dr. Bach say no, and then that person will go to J1, the president release the money for him. The daughter of the president will come and say, release the money for him. Then how the job is going to be done? It's not going to be done.
You know what?
Yeah.
I think those of the top dark, when they accept the position, I don't think they accept it because they were going to make change. I remember during the party that was put together by the full community in which Dr. Jonah Cage approved top. And Professor Cage made a very good statement saying that, you know what, it would have been nice for us to celebrate after a year after we have seen what Dr. Bach have accomplished. Dr. Bach cannot change anything. It doesn't matter how smart he is, what kind of plan he has. You know, when you have responsibility without authority, it's difficult.
It's difficult. He will not do nothing.
You will not be able to do anything.
Yeah.
And this has been the problem in the country for years. For all these ministers, the governor,
Mhm.
our former governor, Governor Lina Yang, had made it very clear in his statement.
Because not every South Sudanese minister can be bad. There is no way all people can be bad. There is no
Yeah,
way.
the struggle that everybody went through. So when you talk about how the economy could be fixed, the South Sudan economy, we are water-based economics industry. If we use our water, we'll be able to accomplish and empower our people.
Mm.
But that thing that can be done. Also, the bananas and all the food, the meat that have been imported from the neighboring country, those companies that are in the neighboring country that their business habits in South Sudan will not go down easily when you start to create your own local production and try to empower your own local business people. It's another challenge that will be there. Because how? Because that's what has been done by our leaders. Our leaders have been compromised. There is nothing this leadership of Kir Mayar can do until a new leader, when a
Mm.
new leader come in, will establish the different system, a system in which we face the realities
Yes.
head on. That's the only change. But with the situation right now, if President Kir is having house and all his family are living in Kenya and all his resources are in Kenya or in Uganda, where in the world will have a president that have a resident in another country? It doesn't work that way. Yeah, it's a compromise. It will compromise the situation and the decision the president will make. So the Tobak, if he have production, if he have all the support from the president and the cartel within around the president, he probably will do something. But I doubt it. South Sudan economy will not be fixed, will not be reversed, will not be resuscitated. It's something that needs a lot to be done.
Then
It's
Atem, I just want to say something that you have said, and I want to comment on it. And I keep doing it. I keep commenting on it ever since President Kiir have made that statement. You said something about his family being in Kenya. Yes, he has his younger wife in Kenya. And I wonder if you recall very well in 2016, in a national day prayer in Kenya, President Kiir was given an opportunity to speak. And after he spoken, the last statement, he said, I always think my own children, my younger children, should be given opportunity to have a citizen because they were born in this country. My brother, I was break down when I hear that statement from my own president. What in the world? You are the president of an independent nation, and you are the president of that country, and you want your own citizen. You go and complain for another country in public. That why are you not giving my children citizenship because they born here? It is a policy of that country to give the citizen to whoever born there with the different background. It's their policy. They can do whatever they want to do. But that's not my concern. And my concern, if my president can say that, that means actually the country that he's ruling, he doesn't care about it. Because if he loves this country, and if you know this country is great, it's the best thing that we have. It's the best thing that we have. He wouldn't even wish for his kids to be a citizen of a foreign country. So then we are a citizen of the United States, dual citizen. It's not because just simply because we are so excited to be a citizen of America. We were refugees in this country, and we didn't have choice, and we have to, right? That's why we became a dual citizen. That's why we became a dual citizen. But
well,
I
I think Jokur, the president, when president make that statement, when he made that statement, actually, is telling you that the president have no confidence in what South Sudan, the future of South Sudan.
but you are the president of the country. You are the president of that country.
He's looking
Listen,
after his family. He's looking after his family. He knows that what happened in South Sudan. He understands South Sudan. South Sudan, there are chances Salva Kiir Salva Kiir history, the legacy of Salva Kiir is not going to be entertained by a lot of people. So he knows that.
I
He
took
knows.
this, Malay Atem, I took these two statements. That statement from President Kiir and another statement from the former Minister of Finance or Petroleum, Luala Chek. Luala Chek says something that pissed me off so bad. I was watching SSBC. It was 2014, 20 something, you know, when he said, when Tech Obot, it was SSBC journalist, when he asked him, they were building a temporary refinery. And Tech Obot asked a question, why would you build a temporary refinery? Why don't you build a permanent one? You know what he said, Deng Atem? And this is the person that had been fighting for South Sudan for a long time. He said, why do we have to build a project that will need 50 years? By that time, we are not going to be here. That's what he said. That's what I heard. By that time, we are not going to be here. Why would you say by that time you are not going to be here? Your children and your grandchildren, they are going to be here. Because this is your country. This is South Sudan.
That was you thinking. Let me tell you one thing. Not everybody think ahead of time. This is the problem we have in the country. I told you earlier, I said, had our leaders calculate the future consequences of today, in 2005, we wouldn't be here today. We wouldn't be having any problem. But they never thought of that. You know, there is a friend of mine, my mentor, told me he asked me one time. He said, "Deng, do you know the problem of your country?" I say, my country have many problems. Which problem? Which one you talking about? And he said, when the SPLM signed the CPA and joined the government and have their own government in the South, with billions of dollars coming in every month, he said, you know what? That's the reason they cannot establish a government. They have to work on a very fragile government so that they can benefit from that oil money. That's the game. Now, what it takes 15 to 20 years to brainwash a society. If you want to convert citizens to a new religion or any phenomenon you want to introduce to the people, what it takes 15 to 20 years to brainwash people. To brainwash those people so that they believe in that phenomenon you try to indoctrinate people into it. For years now, the SPLM ruling elite, what they have done, they have created a situation, they have created a fragile government in which they benefit tremendously, and their family, they stash away a lot of money so that their generation will be able to manage. You know, most of the privileged resources most people are enjoying in the world were acquired fifth generation before. So there is nothing can stop Salva Kiir and all his colleagues in the government. That's the reason he keep rotating the same people every day. The same person is corrupt, but he moved them to the next position where if they go and steal more, because the reason is they want to create a elitist group, a group that will continue to manage this society for 100 years to come. So Salva Kiir is kind of voluntarily said, you know what? I will just do it for you guys. But you know what? Continue to build your family, build your relative, your friend, give them what they want. But you know what? They accuse me of corruption. They don't like me. It doesn't matter. My goal is here to be here and also to facilitate all these resources for these people. That's the point. There's nothing else. Yeah. But otherwise, why would the government not come out with the policies? The policies that could be implement and work for the benefit of the people of the country.
Yeah.
Education, healthcare system. Everybody go to India. Everybody go. Why could you not build a hospital, a state-of-art hospital, and bring the doctors? You can have the doctors in India. They can come. A doctor in India can have $1 million a year from South Sudan, but he will be able to treat hundreds of South Sudanese in their home.
Yep.
South Sudan. It could be done. You outsource. This thing you can outsource. You can have education by bringing Kenyan, Ugandan, South Sudanese to be able to participate. That's the point. Now, the only group of people now, the only the only group of people sustaining South Sudan economy are those of us in the diaspora. 60% of my salary goes to South Sudan every month. My money go to South Sudan every month to sustain the life of my family.
I was talking to one of my friends. I was talking to one of my friends, and this is what he told me 2 days ago. He said, African as a whole, there's nearly like $80 billion. This is the money that they generate, to Africa. From here, African who live here. I'm not talking about African American, African who send the money. Out of this South Sudan every year, 1 million US dollars. South Sudanese who live in North America, in the United States.
100 million US dollars.
$100 million. This is the money that we send.
Send home, yes.
You see,
Yeah.
some are going to Kenya, some are going to Uganda, some are going to the country.
Yeah.
See the economic power. Go ahead.
And now the reciprocal. Now South Sudan is it has two exports. South Sudan is an export of the hard currency. Since the people, the ruling elite in the country, are exporting money, are sending them to sustain the life of their family in the neighboring country. And also the business people, like those hotel you mentioned earlier, the 5-star hotel that have been built in there, their resource, where they go, they invest in New York Stock Exchange, in London, in UK. That's where they invest. There's nowhere you can invest in South Sudan. So you can make money in South Sudan and invest them somewhere. The Muslims with can make money in South Sudan and they are being consumed in another. So the gross domestic product of South Sudan is not accurate. If they say, Jonkur, you make $400 a year, are the South Sudanese, are the working South Sudanese, those money doesn't stay in the country.
Yeah.
They are sent out. Every Muslim in South Sudan, 80% of their salary goes out the window.
Out, yes.
Every day for years now. So you cannot fix this country called South Sudan. Completely, you cannot. At least there has to be a new system, a revolution. That's what will change everything. Otherwise, you don't teach old dog new trick.
Absolutely. You don't teach old dog new tricks.
All these people in the system right now, you cannot change them. Their behavior, the parent, it becomes a parent. It's what they do every day. That's what they're doing. Because there's no system that has been established to say, you know what, they have a good education here. They have a good hospital here. So somebody will think back and say, hey, why would I spend $1,000 in Domnum in Kenya when I can have a very nice house here in Jebel Kunjur or in Moniki and all of this stuff? But it's not in the place because everybody is thinking about going outside of the country. It's a group, the people that love anything important. We love something so foreign. And this is where I came in. This is what I think that the coalition for the restoration of democracy has to play more role here to educate the people of South Sudan, to educate the diaspora about what kind of role should the diaspora play with their money. Yeah, and this is important. How to engage the system in the country. Yeah, the system that the basic thing that I cover with my money here is the thing that the government of South Sudan can do. I have so many relatives who were in the war. Some of them are wounded now in the village. They are staying there. The money that they make, the money that were given to them, their salary, which doesn't come now for a while, it's less than $2.
Yeah.
And what can they do with it?
And what pissed me off more, I was talking to someone, and they said, well, my uncle was sick. My uncle is sick. Unfortunately, he died now. And there's other people who have parents, who have brothers are sick. Okay? And you know what? Sometimes if they have relatives here in the United States or anywhere else, Australia or in Canada, they will say, oh, why don't you guys just take care of your family member who is sick to go and be treated? So you get to be blamed. And when you say, this is not actually, this is the citizen of the country. And if it is a citizen of the country, he can be treated. This is the job of the government that can do. Listen, my brother, we were fighting with Khartoum for a very long time. But I grew up in Khartoum. You know, in UK, everybody's insured. In Canada, everybody's insured. The same system that Sudanese they have, you know, if you go to hospital, you get sick, you get treated, you're being given medicine and go home. You don't pay any dime. I remember very well. Malaria, typhoid, all this stupid thing. You get treated and you go home. These are basic things that the government can do. Imagine someone in the government would say that, why are you guys not sending your money to your families so they can be treated? What is your job as a government? What can you offer? What are the services to the citizen? Can I shoot think mentality? How they think? If the people can take country to the next level, yeah, anyway, we will continue. We need to continue. We need our people to understand, you know, their rights. And that's why whatever they did not offer for the last 19 years, they cannot do it. Because if they cannot implement peace agreement, they will not be able to do election. If they were not able to implement national dialogue, do you think they are going to do election? If they cannot implement peace agreement 2015, 2018, national dialogue, Arusha, and all this, they did not allow people to speak up their mind, because when people debate, good ideas will come out. But someone with poor mind to fikra, it doesn't want people to do debate because they feel threatened by others' political views. Because you have good ideas, they don't want that. That's why they use excessive forces always. If you have a meeting, who allow you to have this meeting? Why are you assembling? Where you going? Where you coming from? That's what it is. But people of South Sudan, we cried together, we fought together, we voted together to have a country that called South Sudan. That's why we need their support now. Forget about the, you know, the tribal politics and regional and clan politics that they are playing this day. They are doing that just to divide you, because they have succeeded for a very long time. They created communal violence. You know, they created all this everywhere. So people of South Sudan can be busy killing themselves, not to think about developmental project. And we got to learn from this, yeah, Jamal. People need to learn from this.
You know, John Kur,
Yeah.
I did not mention something about my background when the show was open. You know, when I joined the movement, when I joined the Sudan People Liberation Army and movement, SPLM, I was in northern Barakazal. My uncle, Turale Yandi, they know, went to Bilfam and came with the Nil Battalion. Deng Juang, Dana Turjung, Paganagut, and they came and they went and fought in Gorial, and then he left and he went to Awul to pick me up. And I was in the base in 1986 with him. Before I went to Bilfam, we've been everywhere. Marialbai, Majangbai, Kilko, they went there and then Nyumlel, all of these beautiful areas.
That's where I was born. That's where I was born. That's my hometown.
And then I left with a group of people from Awil. I was the only young person from Gogrial. And then when we stopped in Mangala Fuk, there's another man that joined us called Lual from Agwak. Now it become me and Lual, we are from Gogrial. We worked for 3 months.
I know.
The people were carrying me on their shoulder when we crossed the Nile in Ortum area in Yurul to bide it, because that time the board was not captured. So we have to go northern Jonglei. We have to go through Jale. We have to go to Panyagor and Panyagor all the way to Pokta, to Duk and Duk to Sarakova. And then we went to Wigloa. It's called Chargo. And then from there, I went all the way down. Then
it's very difficult too, because you have to cross all this swampy. Because coming from Barakazal, it's not easy.
I was very young. I was the only younger person in the group. Yeah, the age of 7 or 8. So when I came to Etam that time, that's when I met all the diversity that make up Sudan and particularly South Sudan. All the tribe they were there. So there were like Mondar, there was Chuluk, there was Maban, there was Nubian, there was a lot of Gabel, Tuko, Pitang, Vitokot, it's a place called Tokot, Pitang. And then from there, later on, Salva Kiir is the one who sent us to Fenyere to go to school. Something that I give Salva Kiir credit for that. When he sent the Jeda Murutana to Fenyere refugees camp to go to school there. But when we were there at the Jeda, we were being told, because we do this called political orientation and all of this, we were being told that you will be the change, you will be the people that will bring the change to the country later on. And we understand that, that's true. And we were taught, we don't have Gabelia. We were not, you know what, we don't have this tribalism among ourselves, whether you are from Equatoria, from where, Afanal, where, Denga, Chuluka, whatever it is. We were brothers. We were a band of brothers. Fi Jamaa, Fi Pasila, Fi Suria, Fi Katiba, wherever you are, you have different person in that group. And you happen to admire that person.
No, go ahead. I hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's a culture that we were taught. But on the other hand, with our political leaders, the SPLA leaders, SPLM had been a system that doesn't allow critics or ask questions and discuss it. Majority of the people were taught to answer questions but not to ask questions. And that had been the culture. So the culture in South Sudan now, the ruling part of the SLM, is the culture that were in the bush. And that has been the issue now. Because they fail to accept the realities. They fail to accept that to transform from the guerrilla movement into the conventional or political entities, it requires a lot. It requires learning, it requires a lot. So this is the issue now for the SPLM party. They continue to behave like they are still in the bush, and the realities of the day is they tell us different otherwise. And that's the problem right now.
Well, Ustaz Deng Atem, it appeared that we spent a great amount of time. I think we would like to conclude with that. And at the end of the day, in our discussion, we are well aware that there will be no election in South Sudan. What we know so far, based on this political sketch that the government have been engaging, political deception, what they are going to do, they are going to come up with a new scenario, tactic, that actually we didn't have enough time, there is no funding, and we did not get any funding from UN, from AU, because always, they are asking the foreigners to fund them. They don't seem to be self-reliant, because that's what this government is lacking. They don't, seem to think that you are a sovereign nation, and if you are a sovereign nation, you have to be creative. You have to create.
They don't take sense of ownership.
Yeah, they don't take sense
of ownership. You be able, even regardless how small you have, and this project is an important project. You be able to value it and be able to contribute to it so that it can be achieved.
Exactly.
And that's the issue right there.
And that you use that. They don't do. They are going to complain because they have been complainer. They have been engaged in corruption, and they have been complaining always. I didn't do this. I do, like a 9 years old, kid. So with that, we want our people to know that, and I want to extend our, invitation to everyone who wanted to be part of court, political movement, political organization. Come, I know there is the political, tribal political has gone on in our country always, but do not, if you are someone who's really concerned for this country, and you want the service to be delivering, and you don't just only looking for your own interest, this is a place for you. Because what's concerning me, children of martyrs have to go to school. Widow, they have to have something to raise up their children. We have to have hospital, we have to have road, we have to have security, and we have to have a country that actually diversify their economy from being just relying on oil to agriculture, so we don't have to import always, the food from Kenya, from Uganda, from this country. South Sudan land 80% is fertile, is agriculture, while the other nations surrounding us, they don't have what we have. So why not? Why not just doing this and working hard, like I said from the beginning, and building a refinery that we can refine the oil within, so Sudan cannot impose the discriminatory fees that we are paying now, because we are paying $9 per barrel for our oil to be transported to Port Sudan, while the Chad country of Chad, now they are exporting their oil through Cameroon. They are paying only 40 cents per barrel. So it requires the government, it requires sons and daughters of the country to be very strategic in their thinking. And this is the way that to be strategic. Diversify economy, focus on agriculture, refine the oil locally. We don't need to export, the crude oil. Don't export the crude oil. Refine the oil locally, so we can give to Ethiopia. Ethiopia will take from us ready. Kenya will take from us ready. Sudan will take from us ready. And with doing that, no one is going to hold you, touch you from what is painful. And now Kenya, they are encouraging to take piece of our land. Uganda is doing the same thing. Sudan is doing the same thing. Why? Because the government that we have is weak. We are in a weaker position. Allow these foreign countries to do whatever they wanted to do, because we are not strategic. We are not. The government that we have is not strategic, and they don't think. Deng, last word, and then we conclude. Further.
Okay. You invited me to even to comment on the last one you just mentioned about this Kenyan and Uganda taking piece of our land. It's something very important, and I see that people have been talking. Nobody's talking in the parliament. Nobody's talking in the opposition in the country. I think only the Chobiar is the one who talk about it, and it's sensitive to talk about it. But the reality is this: do you know the only way we will deal with this country in our neighbors, in our region, who try to take our land, if South Sudan have a viable democratics? If we establish a democratic system, we will be able to take these people to court. Because the benefit of democracy, now, there are two countries in the world inside the other country. Lesotho is a country in South Africa. Lesotho is inside South Africa.
Yes.
It's like Juba. It's like Juba. Inside Juba is another country. But South Africa cannot violate that country.
Yes.
They will take South Africa to court, and they will win. The same thing with the Gambia. Gambia is inside, is engulfed inside Senegal. It was the British port during the colonial. It was used to check these slave traders.
Yes.
So, that. And later on, it turned out they established themselves to be their own, even it's dominated by this tribe called Madingo. And all of this, the same tribe in Senegal. But it is a British speaking community, so it becomes their own country. But now the Senegal cannot go there and create problem for them. No, they have a right. So South Sudan will get anything, will get all the territory back, the territory that we have, through democratic means, through the court, and then the court of the sea, a law of the sea, a law of the land, we can go through it. But only if we have a democratic system in the country. But if we allow our neighbors to run and dictate how we will manage our country, we will not be able to do anything. Take the DRC, for example. It's one of the richest countries in the mineral in the world. And guess what? In order to keep DRC, to keep the mineral of the DRC from the government, from benefiting its citizens, the country is kept, it's been destabilized. You can bring a dictator to run it for 30 years, and then you bring another one, and then keep creating problems. In order for other countries to benefit. South Sudan, it's not too late for us to establish a governance right now, a better governance, a better system, a democratic system. Now, it will be able to give us the leverage to challenge anybody, especially Egypt, that is interested in our water. Egypt have a pocket book of the United States. It's being supported by the British, being supported by the Israelis, being supported by the United States. But only way to deal with Egypt is to put Egypt on the table instead of paying leaders and maneuver around. Tell Egypt, listen here, you got to respect our values, you respect our rights, our international obligation, and the only way we deal with you is through this international organization and the law in the place. And that's how we will deal with Haiti. That's how we'll be able to build the dam in the Nile. 90% of the white Nile is concentrated in South Sudan.
Yes.
We own that landmass. So all of these are very important for us. But only if South Sudan become a democratic country, that one will be able to make our own rule and be able to challenge anybody, regardless of who they are. But if we are a fragile state, if the state that cannot be able to make the decision, if the state that can be blackmailed, if the state that their leaders are fragile, they are worried, they are frightened, they will not. South Sudan will not. You cannot have a leader that can be compromised. That's a problem.
Exactly.
Our leaders can be compromised. If Kir Mayar have a problem with Ruto today, he can block all his assets.
Yeah.
He can give him 24 hours.
And the port of Lamo will be shut down, and because we are a deadlock, and that's why I'm saying that we need to refine oil locally. When you refine oil locally, Ethiopia is a nation of 100 million plus. Ethiopia always getting their petroleum, for public, for their own consumption from Emirates, from Saudi Arabia. But if South Sudan is refining their oil, they will buy it next door, and transportation, cost is not going to be high, and we can even sell it in a reasonable. We will get a lot of money from them. We will get from Kenya because they are going to be forced to buy from us. Now we are not going to buy anything from outside. Because
Even the cows out of the South Sudan economy, we can even have certain cows that are built for sale.
You have to be strategic. We have to be strategic. But what we have now, they are not strategic, my brother. And that's why our country is going down here.
You cannot have strategic when you have leadership that is not willing to do that. Leadership of Salva Kiir is managing crisis. That's what is going on right now. It's been managing all the crises. It's the survival of Salva Kiir alone. That's what people are focusing. It's not about even this economic planning. What does the Minister of Economic Planning plan? What they plan? They plan nothing. There's nothing that can be planned in South Sudan right now. When everything can be done, but it cannot be done because they are busy. If people are not paid for 6 months, what are you talking about here? This is ridiculous.
Thank you, my brother. Until here, we would like to conclude. Thank you so much, for watching. Next week with a new episode. It was great to have you here, Sas Deng Atem, first time ever. And I know many people will call you today and say, hey, what are you doing there? And all these things, But, I know you are a fighter. The struggle continue until the people of South Sudan see the light at the end of the tunnel. With that, I would like to thank everybody who have participated. Watch our live broadcast. Please go ahead and share it, like it in YouTube, in Facebook. Even I open a clubhouse also for the people here to be listening, because I've seen some brothers, they were, requesting me actually to air it on the clubhouse. Please share it, because it seemed like our show is not getting to people that they used to get. Facebook, they have their own new policy restriction. But if you share it, others, they will be able to get our live broadcast. So thank you so much, Sadengid Atem, and we'll continue with this program to educate our people. And good night from here. Thank you so much. Have a lovely night.
The war. We're here to stop the war. We're here to speak the war. We're here to stop the war. We're here to speak the war. We're here to stop the war.
Salam alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Salam alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Salam alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Salam alaikum. Assalamu alaikum.